Hi, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mateo Chavez Lewis, and welcome back to
Music Theater Theory.
Today we're looking at a song from Natasha, Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812 by Dave Malloy. This show premiered on Broadway in 2016 with a famously innovative visual design and directed by Rachel Chavkin, who would go on to direct Hadestown, the Tony Award-winning Best Musical. And this show, it's a really weird show. It's sung through, it uses like a strange mixture of classical music and like techno-electronic dance stuff, and it's based on Leo Tolstoy's novel War and Peace, or very specifically a very short segment, I think only like 70 pages, of that novel. And the song we're going to be analyzing has kind of become a staple in soprano repertoire since this show premiered, because first of all, there aren't that many good contemporary ballads for sopranos. I mean, in the quote-unquote golden age, in the 60s and 70s, composers used to write for sopranos all the time, but nowadays it's a little bit more common that we see high-belting altos and mezzos, but we rarely see sopranos who get to mix and sing in their head voice. So this is one of the best songs written in the 21st century for that kind of a voice. The role was originated off-Broadway by Philippa Soo, who, as you all know, ended up playing Eliza in Hamilton, and it was played on Broadway by Denée Benton, who was nominated for a Tony for the part. And that role is Natasha, as in Natasha, Pierre and the Great Comet, and the song is No One Else. And I have to admit, I saw the show on Broadway, but I don't know as much about this show as I know about some others. So we're really going to be looking specifically at this song, because I know this song very well and I've played it a number of times. And if you have any interesting insights on how this song relates to the rest of the show, just drop them in the comments, because I'd love to hear them. The show starts, Natasha is missing her fiancé, Andre, who is away at war. And she's just emerged from a less than perfect dinner with her future in-laws, and she looks up into the sky, as she has a habit of doing, and she sees the moon. The moon. First time I heard your voice, moonlight burst into the room. This is a very haunting introduction, and part of that is achieved by the rhythm, and part of that is achieved by the harmony. So I'm going to break both of those down. The rhythm, we have this left-hand rhythm, which is going in a consistent 3 with the beat of the bar. So the bar is in 3/4, and we're getting this 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 in the left hand. Meanwhile, on the other side of the piano, in the right hand, we're getting a triplet within the 3/4 time. So instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, we're getting 1E and 2E and 3E and 1E and 2E and 3E, which creates this swinging feeling. And so the two are at odds with each other, because this is playing this swinging, lilting rhythm, while this is playing a very consistent, steady beat. And so put them together and it creates this kind of off-kilter feeling where half of the orchestra, or half of the piano, is playing off-kilter, and then half of it is keeping the tempo. And there's a lot of contrast there, and it feels rhythmically unmoored because of that. Then we've also got the harmonic elements. There are a lot of diminished and augmented chords happening here. If you know basic music theory, you'll know that there are two basic kinds of triads, which are major chords, which are a major third and a minor third, stacked on top of each other in that order. And then there are minor chords, which are the opposite. There's the minor third and then the major third. So the reason that this is important to talk about the chords in terms of these intervals is that augmented and diminished triads are a major third stacked on top of a major third, and a minor third stacked on top of a minor third, respectively. So the augmented chord is a major third and then a major third. And because the intervals between the notes are all the same, they can all be substituted for each other. So you don't know if this is an F augmented chord, or it could also be an A augmented chord because it's the same 3 notes. Or a C sharp augmented chord. They're all the same combination of notes because the intervals are the same. You can kind of flip it around and move it around the piano without it changing its characteristic. Same with the diminished chords. When you have the diminished chords, they're just minor thirds stacked on each other. And so you can take that diminished chord and move it all around the piano. You don't know if that's an F diminished chord or an A flat diminished chord or a B diminished chord or a D diminished chord. It could be any of those because the intervals between each note in the chord are the same. For comparison's sake, if you take a major chord and then you start it on a different note, it's going to have a different combination of notes in it because the intervals are all different, so they have to recalibrate. So why am I telling you all of this? Well, the augmented and diminished chords, because they can move around the piano so freely and because their intervals are all the same, so it's less clear where the root is, using those chords gives you a feeling of unmooring, a feeling of being lost, a feeling of not knowing where home is. First time I heard your voice, moonlight burst into the room, and I saw your eyes, and I saw your smile, and the world open wide. Now we've gone from 3/4 to 6/8 in time signature. So already we're a page into the sheet music and there are these two huge musical concepts. That's something I love about Dave Malloy is he's so innovative as a composer and he uses so much music and music theory, but he uses it for good reason most of the time. So here we've got these time signature changes and they happen all throughout the song where it goes between being in 3/4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, to being in 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it switches between these two feels. And when it's in 6/8, it tends to be more upbeat, happier, and feel like it's moving faster. Whereas when it's in 3/4, it feels slower and a little bit more melancholy. And so the moments in Natasha's thought process where Dave Malloy chooses to switch time signatures are very telling about what the memories are that trigger the thoughts and the emotions in Natasha. For example, here, it's the moon that feels melancholy. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then when she starts talking about the first time I heard your voice, suddenly it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's much more jovial and upbeat. And the world was inside of me, and I catch my breath, and I laugh and blush, and I hear guitars. You are so good for me. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. So remember when I said the switching in the time signatures is a good hint for where Natasha's thought process might be switching? Here she goes, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And she thinks about how much she loves him and then she remembers that Andre isn't here. And there's that augmented chord, which this superpower of the augmented chord, this fact that you can start it on a different note and have the same combination of notes in it, is used kind of to its advantage at this part too, because this little section here, they play a C sharp augmented chord and then an F augmented chord, but that's the same combination of notes. And then up here, C sharp augmented again. And that leads us back into the melancholy 3/4 feeling. Oh, the moon. Oh, the snow in the moonlight. And your childlike eyes and your distant smile. I'll never be this happy again. And there's the first time that this 3/4 section has resolved on the F major chord or the tonic instead of resolving on that augmented chord. You and I and no one else. And then finally we're at this major chord, we're vamping on the major chord. And then, uh-oh, here comes the augmented chord again. We've done this all before. We were angels angels once. And there's that diminished chord.
We were angels once.
Don't you remember? Joy and life inside our souls, and nobody knows, just you and me. It's our secret. And then here the rhythm changes again, so it picks up even more. So while there's 3/8 notes in the beat in 6/8, now the right hand in the piano is playing these dotted eighth notes on top, so it's a 2 dotted eighth notes over 3 eighth notes. Polyrhythm. And a polyrhythm is just a fancy term for when one part of the piano is playing something rhythmically solid and the other part is playing something that's a little bit rhythmically disconnected. A polyrhythm specifically is when both of them are playing equally divided beats, but that's semantics. So listen to this movement that's created from this polyrhythm. This winter sky, how can anyone sleep? There was never such a night before. I feel like putting my arms round my knees and squeezing tight as possible and flying away back to the 3/4. Like this. Oh, the snow in the moonlight, and your childlike eyes, and your distant smile. I'll never be this happy again. You and I. So let me talk about this build. This build to the end here, the piano is playing the same chord the whole time through this build. It's like 20 bars long. And that chord is this. Yummy, crunchy chords. I love it. So this is a C7, so a dominant 7th chord, which is very standard, used in every kind of jazz. You know? But the C7 is very famous for resolving to, or leading to, the F major chord. C7, F. Sounds lovely. And we happen to be in the key of F, so that F major chord is kind of home base. So that C7 is a really good chord to use because it will lead us home. However, instead of just going C, E, G, B flat, which is how a C7 is usually built, instead of this G, Dave Malloy puts in the F. And so it's this feeling of like we're already home, but we're not, you know? We're hitting the F, but instead of playing the F major chord, we're playing the F against this C7. And that's super, super crunchy and clashy because of this interval right here. And it gives us this feeling of like we're supposed to feel like we're at home, but we still don't, and we're still building to something. And so I think that's a really intelligent choice to put for a woman who is missing her fiancé who's away at war, because she's at home, but she's yearning for something. You and I, you and I. And no one else. And all of this melody is building up to the F as well. It's also leading us, the vocal line is also leading us to that F. But we never get there. She never gets the release that she's wanting. She never reaches the destination that she's striving for. You and I, you and I, you and I. We want it to go, and no one else. You know, that would feel triumphant. That would feel like she got it. She got the thing she wanted. But she doesn't. You and I. She doesn't get it. He's still gone. And no one else. And here the piano jumps up the octave, so it becomes a little bit more music box. Instead of being down here, it's up here, which makes it feel a little bit more far away. Almost like the thing she wants, the dream she's dreaming of, is further away than when the song began. And that's really heartbreaking to me. Maybe he'll come today. Maybe he came already. And he's sitting in the drawing room. And I simply forgot. And there we go, we have, for the first time, a major chord. Without an unsettling rhythm, without any unsettling added notes, just a major chord. And she kind of invents this story of, oh, maybe he came already, and he's just sitting in the drawing room. And with that story, that lie that she's telling herself, she can feel okay. Anyways, that was a little bit about No One Else from Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about this song. And if you like this video, make sure to subscribe because I've got more videos coming your way every single Saturday. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so over at my Patreon. The link is in the description below. Everyone who becomes a patron by donating even as little as $5 a month gets access to early uploads, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, and I let my patrons decide what songs I'm going to analyze on the channel next. So if you've got a song you'd really love for me to analyze, head over to Patreon and let me know. Thank you all so much for your support, and thank you all so much for watching. Once again, my name is Mateo Chavez Lewis, and this has been
Music Theater Theory.